right, so now we're going to go over the second video for this section, and that is going to be time series graphs. And a time series graph represents data that occurs over a specific period of time. So whenever our data is talking about years or months or time like that, we will represent it, or we can represent it in a time series graph. All right, so for a time series graph, here the question or the problem that we're going to be doing, or the data that we're going to be doing, is the number in millions of vehicles, both passenger and commercial, that use the Pennsylvania Turnpike for the years 1999 through 2003 is shown. Construct and analyze a time series graph for the data. So here's the data that's given to us from 1999 to 2003, and this is the number of millions of people that have used the Pennsylvania Turnpike over these years. Right? So what we need to do now is we need to go ahead and we're going to draw a time series graph. And you're going to see a time series graph is similar to our frequency polygon or to our ogive. All right, so let's go ahead and let's draw this. All right, so when we go to make a time series graph, we need to go ahead and create our X and Y axis, just like we do for all of our other graphs. And then our X axis is always going to be the years, because remember, our time series graph, or the time, whether if it's months, years, weeks, anything like that. So the time series graph, we're always going to be dealing with some sort of time, and our X axis is going to be whatever time that we're dealing with. So in this case, we're dealing with years, so that's why we labeled it 1999, 2000, 2001, 2, and 3. Right? And then our Y axis is going to either be our frequency, or the number of miles in this case in millions, or number of vehicles, I'm sorry, in millions. But our Y axis is going to be whatever our other data is. And then from here, the reason why this is going to be similar to our ogive or to our frequency polygon is this is going to be a line graph. So at the year 1999, we're going to plot a point for how many it was. So it was 156 million. So it's somewhere around here. So 156 million. Then the next one was 160 million. So at 2000, I'll put 160 million. Then the next one was 162. So it'll be somewhere above here. Then the next one was 172. So it's somewhere up here. Let me make sure I'm matching up with the years. So 172, and then the last one was 179, so that will then be somewhere up here as well. All right, so once we go ahead and plot those points, the reason why this is similar to our ogive and to the other one is we need to draw a line connecting these points. All right, so we need to connect all of our points. So let me redraw that line then. So we need to redraw this line connecting all of these points. All right. And there is our final graph. Now, something that we can say if we want to analyze this is that every single year more and more vehicles are using the Turnpike, and we can maybe then use that information to figure out why. Is it more commercial vehicles that are using it? Is it more passenger? If it's more passenger, does that mean people are going on vacation more, but maybe the flights are too expensive, so they're driving more often? So we can then use this. So by right now, we can determine that every single year that the amount of vehicles using the Turnpike is increasing. And then why, that's something that we can dig in deeper and do even more tests or more studies on to figure out why more people are using the Pennsylvania Turnpike. We can even figure out, is it in-state, out-of-state? We can do a lot of different things with this. But analyzing this, we can see is every single year it is increasing and increasing. All right, so this is your time series graph, right, where you just plot your points at your years or whatever time it is that we're doing, and then we just draw a line connecting those points, right? There's one other thing I want to talk about with this, and that is a compound time series graph, and that's where we're comparing two different times. So if you notice here, we have a blue line that represents 2004 and a red line that represents 2005, and we're comparing the amount of snow shovels that were sold in the 2 years from the months November to March. So in 2004, in the month of November, there was a lot more snow shovels sold than there were in 2005. And then in 2005, there was more sold in December, less in January, and so on. So when we have multiple years or multiple times that we are comparing, because a lot of times it's something that you want to do as well. You want to compare maybe this that we drew maybe this, yes, it is increasing, but maybe if we were to compare the months, we can see that maybe in certain months it's where it's really increasing versus others. So maybe in every single year in the month of December, there's a lot of cars that are driving more so than the year before, which is causing the increase overall in the total year. So a lot of times it is beneficial to look at and compare this year's data, prior year's data, or this month's to prior year months, so you can see the trend that's going on, and you can see and you can then talk about it. So here you can say, well, since more shovels were bought in November, maybe there's a snowstorm that happened in November. And since more people bought them in 2004 in November than they did in 2005, when the snowstorm came in December, not that many people had to buy them because they already purchased them the month before in 2004. Whereas here, barely any bought any in November. So we can talk about it in different ways. So it is good or beneficial to compare 2 different years or 2 different months of different years or things like that. But whenever you're doing that, that is called a compound time series. All right, and the 2 different lines will need to be done in 2 different colors so you can differentiate. Anyone that plans on going into business, whether if it's finance, accounting, this is something that you will see a lot of because you will always be comparing this fiscal year to your previous fiscal year to see if you're doing better, or you will always be comparing how much you're actually doing to what projections you were setting forth. So if you're under projections, then you have to figure out why. But you will always be comparing where there's multiple line graphs that are going on, whether if it's from the prior year versus this year, or if it's your projections versus your actual revenue. All right, so this is something that you will definitely need to understand how to not only read, but also do for anyone that plans on going into the business world. All right, that is it for this video. And that's it for this section with the videos as well, because the last part we will do in person.